Hello viewers, welcome to the session. We all know that textbook plays a very important role in the teaching learning process. So what is the theory of making a textbook? We know that the making of textbook is determined by the syllabus, and the syllabus is determined by curriculum. Let's look into these terms: curriculum, syllabus and textbooks. Curriculum is the instructional and educational program which aims at the goals, ideals and aspirations of life to be achieved by the pupils. It is based on the philosophies and beliefs of the society. And curriculum provides a statement of policy. It is a comprehensive plan. It states the goals to be achieved by the learners on the course of study, and it's the foundation of education. Curriculum is primarily administrative in nature as well as academic. Let us see what syllabus means. Syllabus is a specific list of teaching items. It gives the details of the course content. It tells what to learn on a course of study. And syllabus is purely academic in nature, and it involves the level of the learner and the content. So selection, organization and sequencing of the content is prescribed by the syllabus. Whereas textbook is the collection of the knowledge, concepts and principles of a selected course, and in which we will find graded materials that are syntax, vocabulary and phonology. And we have different types of textbooks as far as English is concerned: readers, supplementary readers and workbooks, and even reference books. So in the classroom we use the textbooks, and while making the textbook, curriculum and syllabus are involved. So when we look into the making of curriculum or curriculum design, which is influenced by the theories, ideals and beliefs in the society, and syllabus is made on par with curriculum, and whatever suggestions made by the curriculum, they do reflect in syllabus. In one way we can say the broad definition of syllabus is curriculum and the narrow definition of curriculum is syllabus. And textbook in continuation, and after that planning, which involves how the content in the textbooks should be used in the classroom and how we can cater to the needs of the children and how we can continue classroom procedure, which is called teaching learning process, and evaluation, and where we will see the effectiveness of textbooks, syllabus, of course curriculum, and then we will look into the reflections. They do help us in revision of curriculum. So dear viewers, this is the framework. Curriculum leads to syllabus, which leads to textbooks, which leads to teaching learning process, which leads to evaluation, reflection and possible curriculum revision. And now see curriculum design. It tells us about all these aims and objectives, what purpose, content, what inputs or experiences, methodology and how to organize evaluation, how much of the purpose has been achieved. And let us look into the theories of curriculum design. The content model classical humanism, and it believes that learning is considered knowledge oriented. The focus is on content prescribed, and it suggests grammar translation method, and the methodology is inductive. The teacher presents rules and practice is done in controlled situations, and the content is expressed in terms of language features that are phonology, syntax and vocabulary that make up language. Tests are designed to assess the mastery in language areas and to select the students for the next level. However, The major demerit in this method is the abilities as well as the problems of the individual learners are not taken into account. And let us see constructivistic theory. It is based on the theories of Dewey and Vygotsky. And learning is a process of knowledge construction, and pupils learn by doing and keep improving every time they repeat an action, and learning through problem solving. And here, integration of knowledge, what the learners already have and what they have gained. And this is the way how knowledge is constructed. And the other method is the objective model reconstructivism. It is linear in approach to curriculum development, and content is divided into smaller elements of knowledge and skills, and the focus is on practice skills. Evaluation is object-based. However, it lacks learners' autonomy and creativity. And another method is the process model progressivism, and it believes that learning is by doing. Active participation of the learners is promoted, and the teacher acts as the facilitator, and the teacher negotiates with the students during the course of study. And the emphasis is on self-evaluation and peer evaluation. And the design is components and strategies. And here implementation, background and requirements of the learners and time allotted. And evaluation is programmed evaluation, whereas curriculum implementation and renewal or feedback. And now let us see the underlying factor in the present curriculum that we are using in our state. The NCF 2005 has made several recommendations in curriculum design. Let us look into the recommendations of NCF 2005 as far as English is concerned. And NCF suggests that language teaching should be multilingual, where learners are allowed to use more than one language. Code mixing and code switching. Code mixing. This is very common. We observe the students in the classroom where learners, they use words from other language. And code switching refers to they begin a discourse in a particular language and all of a sudden they move into other language. So this is very common in bilingual or multilingual situations where we mix the code as well as switch over from one code or one language to the other. And connecting knowledge to life outside the school and enrichment of the textbooks. So the learners have freedom and they can go beyond the textbooks. We need not believe that textbook is the only available resource materials in the classroom. We can use any material. Textbook is one of the suggested materials. And evaluation is flexible. Evaluation doesn't mean just exams. Evaluation can be done in any mode. It can be an interview, it can be a study or even observation or a questionnaire, so many issues. And we have several tools of evaluation. And here the focus is on higher order thinking skills. And they are critical thinking, which are when we look into a reading passage where we pose questions that are quite evaluative and even extrapolative. So evaluative, there we invite the opinion of the learners and to what extent they have understood the text and how they will be able to answer the questions. And extrapolative, they may go beyond. We can ask a question, if you were in a position, what would you do? Such questions are extrapolative. So here we have to give scope for the learners to comprehend and respond freely. And metacognition, how we think, and application of knowledge and application of experiences and synthesis and drawing inferences. And now we are coming to the syllabus design. So syllabus is influenced by several factors. Let us see. First, syllabus should focus on the learner's needs, what the learners exactly need in the course, and formulating objectives. So when we are presenting the syllabus, what are the expectations and what are the possible outcomes, which we can call aims and objectives, and course contents, and what inputs are to be used in the syllabus, and strategies or techniques and how these inputs can be brought into the classroom and evaluating, and how we can assess the performance of the learners in the course of study. So, there are some types of syllabuses. We can say the structural syllabus, the notional functional syllabus or NFS, the communicative syllabus and task-based syllabus. So, let us see the structural syllabus, which believes in mastery of structures, imitation and repetition, reproduction and bringing the changes in sentences, listening and speaking followed by reading and writing, and the focus is on mastery of language, which is linguistic competence. So, the notional functional syllabus or NFS, it believes that language has to be used in appropriate contexts, and there the focus is on notions such as time, quantity, place, agent, instruments, etc. and function. Function means a purposeful use of language. Where we use language? Seeking permission, apologizing, agreeing or disagreeing, arguing, asking for or giving permission. So, the NFS or notional functional syllabus focuses on notions as well as functions. And the other type of syllabus is communicative syllabus, and it is quite opposite to the first one. The focus is on communicative competence, and the learners are expected to use language in various situations and learning how to learn, not what to learn, and the use of authentic materials. Authentic materials are the materials that are not prescribed but can be used in the classroom to promote classroom communication. For example, a pamphlet or a press note or any advertisement or a notice or even a wrapper which can be used in the classroom. They are good examples for authentic materials, even classifieds. So, we can use them in the classroom to promote natural way of communication. And the task-based syllabus, the focus is on classroom processes that stimulate learning, and this syllabus suggests tasks or activities that the learners have to do in the classroom. So, we come across similar terms: exercise, task and activity. Let us see how these terms are different. Exercise refers to the teaching procedure that involves controlled, guided or open-ended practice of some aspects of language. Example, a drill or a cloze test or a short reading comprehension test. Whereas task, which is something that the learners do or carry out using their existing language resources or those that have been provided. And some examples for tasks are information gap, task or reasoning gap and opinion gap. Whereas activity, it is a purposeful classroom procedure that involves learners doing something that relates to the goals of the course. Good examples for activities are singing a song, role play, group discussion. Here we can say that task and activity are almost similar, but sometimes activity involves some physical involvement or motor skills, using the motor skills. For example, singing a song, they use language and again they go for voice modulation or dramatizing or making a role play or group discussion. Some other aspects of language are also involved. So, how the textbook is developed? Here these are the factors. First, selection and gradation of the content, and learning and teaching, structure and organization, use of language, the suitable language or appropriate language to the level, and the layout. And let us see the layout of the units in the textbooks that are in use now. We can see each unit begins with a face sheet, and the face sheet raises the curtain, and it is thematically related to the reading passages in those units. So, face sheet triggers the ideas and it gives scope for the learners to use language. There they can generate discourses, and reading A, which is followed by glossary and comprehension, vocabulary, grammar, writing, study skills, listening, reading B as well as reading C. So, now we have adopted DOP or discourse oriented pedagogy where we give scope for the learners to construct discourses in the classroom. So, a discourse is nothing but any linguistic manifestation. It can be oral as well as written, and face sheet as well as reading A or B. At every level, at every chunk, we give a scope for the learners to construct discourses. And here, the learners are expected to present their discourse in the class. And the teacher takes up the process of editing. So, editing, the purpose of editing is to come out with the acceptable version of language. And when learners observe the teacher, they look into the mistakes and where they have gone wrong, and they correct them. And of course, this is not done directly. The teacher presents his version, and whereas the learners compare the version of the teacher with their version, and they look into the areas where editing is required. So, when we come to planning and how the materials prescribed are used in the classroom. So, planning tells us the strategies or techniques. So, we come across year plan, unit plan as well as period plan. So, year plan is related to the whole academic year, and from the beginning till the end, what are the activities, what strategies or what type of tasks have to be given. It even suggests tests and examination, when summative examinations are to be administered, or when at what level or at what intervals formative evaluation should be administered. And when you come to unit plan, it is a small version of the year plan. It tells us the number of units that we need to complete and the activities that we can take up while working with the unit, whereas period plan. So, you can see year plan comprises unit plans and unit plan comprises period plan. Now, let us see the layout first. So, year plan, it has this system and unit number and name of the unit and number of periods required for reading processes and activities. If there are any remarks, we have to make a note. And here unit plan, you can say class and subject, here English and name of the unit and number of periods required and what are the objectives of the unit or expected outcomes. And here period 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. At every level, description of the content. So, what area is selected for the particular period and what is the strategy and what activities are we going to do in the classroom, and what type of activities, maybe individual activities or group or peer activities, and what is the strategy and how we are going to present it, and resources. So, preferably textbook is the resource, and you can use charts or even diagrams, or even you can use electronic resources, right, and reflections of the teacher at the end of the unit. So, every time we begin the unit with some expectations, we begin the class with some expectations, and at the end of the class we reflect, we see to what extent I am successful, to what extent I am able to reach my goal. So, these reflections are very important for us to plan better for the next one. And teacher notes or additional information about the unit, if any, if possible, and we can invite the suggestions of our colleagues, we can invite the suggestions of other academicians, or even we can invite the suggestions of our learners and what changes are to be made in the unit or in the strategy. So, this syllabus is very flexible, and we invite the opinions of our colleagues and our teachers and even our students, and every time we try to improvise our presentation in the classroom. And period plan, it is this is the layout, the class and subject and topic or activity and the process, and how we are taking up the period process, and the questions for interaction and comments and reflections. So, classroom transaction and how it takes place. The unit begins with the face sheet, and the teacher begins interaction using the face sheet, and there we invite learners' opinion, and there is a possibility to have a discourse. So, generally face sheet promotes oral discourses. It can be oral presentation, maybe a description, maybe a short debate. So while reading, we ask the learners to use a star mark or a tick mark. So here, if they like any part of the text most, they have to use a star mark, and if they have understood the reading text, the part of the text, they have to put a tick mark, and sometimes they are asked to underline that they have not understood. And there we have some discussion, then we can go for discourse construction. So the targeted discourses we all know, and we select or we choose the discourse according to the context. For example, if you take a lesson attitude is altitude in class 10, the possible discourses, we can go for the conversation between Nick's parents, and there we can ask the learners to construct a discourse, write an imaginary conversation between Nick's parents, or write an imaginary conversation between Nick and Bethany Hamilton. Sometimes you can have an interview also. Imagine you are a newspaper reporter and you are supposed to interview Nick Vujicic. So write an interview script. So these are some possible discourses, and the learners work in groups and they come out with their discourse and they present their discourse. And there we go for editing. So preferably classroom editing, and we will ask them. And when we come to editing, very important, and we can see any missing words or excess words or wrong words, or maybe word order, maybe problem with the agreement features or punctuation, and we use some symbols there. So we give a hint to the learners so that they can go for self-editing, and finally the teacher presents his version and the learners make the comparison. So this is the classroom transaction for a unit or even for a lesson. Dear viewers, in this session we have discussed the terms curriculum, syllabus and textbooks. And we all know curriculum is a very broad term, and that involves not only curricular areas and co-curricular or even extracurricular areas, whereas syllabus is purely academic, and the syllabus tells us what inputs have to be given in the particular level. And a textbook, which is the resource material, which gives us information, which contains several activities and different types of texts. So the present textbooks have thematic approach, and certain themes are identified. The whole unit will have the same theme, and we can see the same theme running in the whole unit. For example, if you take the town mouse and country mouse in class 7, that is something, the relationship and how the town mouse and country mouse behaved, and which is followed by the poem The Town Child and Country Child. Similarly, if you go to class 8, human relation, the first one is The Tattered Blanket, and which is followed by the poem The Mother and Letter to a Friend. So in all these texts, we can see the same theme is running. So the present textbooks have thematic approach, and all the units are thematically associated, and all the components in the unit are also thematically associated, and it gives scope for various types of activities, and the learner's autonomy is taken care of. And the present system promotes flexible evaluation. Evaluation does not mean only tests and examinations. Evaluation can be done at every level. Evaluation is a continuous process. So curricular framework, which is influenced by goals and beliefs and as well as the theories of education, whereas it paves way for syllabus, and the syllabus suggests the inputs at every level, and the syllabus paves way for the preparation of textbooks, and textbooks have a specific design and the layout. How should a textbook be? Textbook should have language that should be understood easily by the learners of the particular level, and the textbook should have illustrations also, because generally pictures and illustrations, they arrest the attention of the children, and we can see some illustrations. And textbook should have a variety of activities, not just monotonous questions, and the textbook should give scope to various types of skills. You can see in the textbook reading comprehension and certain vocabulary items are there, study skills, and we have given scope for listening and speaking skills and even projects. And while doing projects, the learners work together and they learn collaboratively. And the project helps the learners to work collaboratively, where while working with the projects, the learners accept the suggestions of their colleagues, of their friends, and there will be some mutual understanding and they come out with a good one. And there they go for analysis of the project and they will see the outcome. So dear viewers, here we have identified the difference between curriculum, syllabus and textbook, and the classroom process and the layout of the unit and how the unit is presented in the classroom by means of classroom transaction. And whereas if there is any gap between curriculum and learning experience and evaluation, again we will go for reflections, and these reflections help us to improvise curriculum. That's all for us today. Have a nice day.